What's up, Otaku family? Welcome back to Otakuact. So we start with soldiers who literally couldn't tell if they were witnessing reality or a waking dream. And honestly, same. When Jin-Woo stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos, telling them to evacuate immediately, because this area wasn't safe. You know things are about to get real. But can we talk about Jin-Ho for a second? When rubble from a shattered building began falling toward that old couple, and a shield rose just in time, Jin-Ho, with his breath steady and stance firm, threw himself into the path, intercepting the debris. He called out to Jin-Woo, his voice unwavering as he declared he would stay behind to assist with evacuations. Jin-Woo gave a slight nod, acknowledging Jin-Ho's determination, and guys, this character development is everything. Then Jin-Woo turned, stepping forward with a heavy presence, his aura rising like a dark storm. With shadows stirring around him, Jin-Woo readied himself for the battlefield ahead. Jima, thrust into his first battle, unleashed a storm of unrestrained fury. Each step he took shook the earth, his black spear spinning with a savage rhythm as he tore through the giants. One after another they fell before his raw power. There was no hesitation, no mercy, only carnage in his path, a trail of broken bodies left behind like shattered statues. Above him, Jin-Woo charged forward, sprinting across Jima's towering back before launching into the air. His grip tightened around the demon monarch's dagger, its dark edge pulsating with lethal intent. As he soared toward one of the giants, his eyes locked onto its face. With a single brutal stroke, Jin-Woo split the giant's skull clean down the middle, the body collapsing in a heap before it could even register what had happened. Guys, the helicopters above were buzzing nervously, reporters inside peering down with wide eyes, their cameras capturing what felt like a myth in motion. The giants were being torn apart effortlessly by Jin-Woo's summoned army. It was a massacre, and they were watching the ascension of a war hero. But then we get this heart-wrenching moment. As the towering beasts continued to fall one after another, a piercing scream cut through the chaos. A young girl, no older than 12, darted through the wreckage with terror in her eyes. Her cries echoed off broken walls and crumbling concrete, chased closely by the thunderous steps of a giant. Its massive hand stretched out, casting a shadow over her trembling form, ready to claim its next victim. Then, in an instant, a violet flash tore across the air like lightning made solid. The giant's wrist exploded with sparks and blood as a blade carved through it mid-reach. The monster reeled back, howling in pain, its severed hand crashing to the ground. From the smoke, Igris emerged, his long red plume flickering like flame, his demon monarch sword humming with residual energy. Without a word, he placed himself between the girl and the monster, unmoving, a silent wall of protection. Before the giant could recover, a deafening roar shook the battlefield. Iron hurtled through the air like a cannonball, axe raised high above his head. His descent was swift and merciless. The moment his weapon connected with the giant's skull, the air itself seemed to split. The impact sent a powerful gust rippling outward, flattening debris and dust in its wake as the giant collapsed in a heap, its eyes already lifeless. Still shivering, the little girl clung to Igris's body, finding safety in the stoic knight's presence. Iron stood proudly atop the fallen beast with his axe in one hand and flashing a playful wink, as if to say the job was done. Meanwhile, Igris knelt beside the girl, resting a gloved hand gently on her head. His gesture, calm and reassuring, told her without words that no harm would come to her now. Jin-Woo watched the scene unfold, and watching Iron in action filled him with a rare sense of pride. The towering knight, now stronger after his recent upgrade, was holding his own with impressive force and precision. As Jin-Woo stood amidst the aftermath, a soldier cautiously approached, nerves evident in his expression. Though overwhelmed by the chaos they had just survived, he managed to offer a few words of thanks. Jin-Woo responded with a calm, reassuring thumbs up. The gesture struck something in the soldier. He nodded back, still shaken, but visibly comforted. Jin-Woo then turned his gaze toward Jin-Ho, giving him a firm nod and instructing him to stay behind and assist the soldier with the evacuation. Without hesitation, Jin-Ho gave a short affirmative, stepping up beside the soldier and quickly leading him away from the danger zone. With that resolve, Jin-Woo shifted his attention back to the massive corpse lying before him. Standing beside the fallen giant, a command slipped from his lips like a whisper laced with power. Arise. The shadows beneath the giant trembled, then surged upward as 6 colossal forms emerged one by one. Their eyes glowed with dark loyalty, their forms now bound to Jin-Woo's will. He didn't dwell on their identities. There was no need for ceremony. He simply numbered them. From number 1 to number 6, each giant received its name and its place in his ever-growing army. Baru appeared shortly after, always prompt, reporting each successful subjugation with unwavering loyalty. As more giants fell, Baru kept count, providing updates on their expanding control over Japan. The battle so far had unfolded in Jin-Woo's favor. His army of shadows, scattered across cities, worked with tireless efficiency. This war of attrition favored him completely. His mana reserve seemed endless, allowing his soldiers to fight without pause. Even in defeat, they simply regenerated and returned to battle. But the war wasn't without complication. While the giants were being dealt with, the S-rank gate's presence had triggered numerous other dungeon breaks. Swarms of lower-ranked monsters were spilling out into urban centers, bringing fresh waves of chaos. Still, in the midst of it all, Japan was slowly being reclaimed. The once hopeless situation was stabilizing, and at the heart of it all stood Jin-Woo. At the Japanese Hunters Association headquarters, the atmosphere was tense but filled with awe. Officials stared at the growing list of recovered cities, their expressions frozen with disbelief. No one could deny the impact Jin-Woo was making. For Chairman Matsumoto, the shock ran deeper than most. He stood in silence, mind reeling back to their first meeting. He remembered clearly how he had rushed to greet Jin-Woo at the airport, desperate to salvage what little control they had left. Without hesitation, he had asked the Korean hunter to focus solely on defending Osaka, explaining that the giants were closing in and that they would request support from other nations in the meantime. He hadn't expected resistance. He had expected compliance, at the very least cooperation. But Jin-Woo had refused, calmly, bluntly, and without any intention of compromise. The officials present at the time had been stunned, left speechless by his defiance. Now, watching the impossible unfold, city by city, Matsumoto finally understood. Jin-Woo hadn't come to defend. From the very beginning, he had come to wipe them all out, alone. Days had slipped by like a slow-burning fuse. On the 7th day since the dungeon break, night draped itself over the ruined shell of Tokyo. Jin-Woo and Jin-Ho walked in silence through the city's wreckage. The once vibrant streets, now a hollow echo of what they used to be. Jin-Ho glanced around, his heart sinking as he took in the devastation. Just then, a familiar presence emerged from the shadows. It was Hanekawa, the A-rank hunter, who had stayed behind when everyone else had fallen or fled. Her face was pale, not from fear, but from the weight of what she had witnessed. Without needing to be asked, she confirmed what Jin-Woo had sensed long before her arrival. Tokyo had no hunters left. The destruction was absolute. The giants had used this place as their ground zero, fanning out to wreak havoc across the nation. She gave him the numbers next. Cold. Final. 16 S-rank hunters remained globally, Jin-Woo included. 6 were still in Japan. The rest were scattered across China, Canada, India, Russia, and England. Yuri Orloff alongside 2 others had fallen. Even the most powerful weren't immune to the chaos that had erupted. Hanekawa's voice trembled slightly as she recounted the losses, but she remained composed. There were still 31 giants left. One had already begun crossing the ocean, heading toward China. The others were scattered, but slowing, thanks in large part to Jin-Woo's army of shadows fighting beside the remaining hunters. Still, the threat was far from over, and Jin-Woo knew it. The last, most dangerous giant remained at the gate, its protector, the strongest of them all. He could feel it waiting like a storm on the edge of the horizon. As Hanekawa's words faded into silence, Jin-Woo's thoughts drifted to something far removed from the battlefield before him. The burning buildings, the ash in the air, the lifeless city around them. It reminded him of the demon castle. That place, once just a flaw within the system's trials, now felt eerily prophetic. The destruction here mirrored the demon castle so closely it sent a chill down his spine. He wondered if the system's architect had truly died back then who was carrying out this vision now? Or was it already set in motion long before? Perhaps that castle had been more than just a challenge. It had been a glimpse into a possible future, Jin-Woo clenched his fist. He had overcome that place once, trained in its fire, bled within its walls, and now that strength would be put to the ultimate test. If what he saw was a warning, then this right now was the chance to rewrite that fate. The final battle loomed ahead, and Jin-Woo was ready. With a calm, unwavering confidence, Jin-Woo signaled that it was time to move. Hanakawa hesitated for a moment, uncertain, noting that the other hunters hadn't arrived yet, but Jin-Woo, calm and composed, assured her they were already here. That's when the sound began, a low, rhythmic thud echoing across the shattered cityscape. The ground trembled faintly, as one by one dark silhouettes emerged from the fog. They climbed atop broken rooftops, stood silently upon ruined ledges, and filled the street corners like shadows cast by a god. Then, behind Jin-Woo, his most trusted summons, Tusk, Iron, and Igris, stepped out of the shadows. Hanakawa could only watch, frozen in awe, as the sheer magnitude of their power unfolded before her eyes. Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers had arrived. Their presence alone shifted the air, but the sight didn't end there. The rest of Jin-Woo's army flowed in, hundreds of shadow soldiers spreading like ink through the city, filling every space. Their forms rippled with black energy, glowing eyes locked on their king. And then, in a perfectly timed motion, they all dropped to one knee. An entire army of shadows pledging themselves in total, unwavering loyalty. But the moment wasn't complete. Not yet. From the sky, a streak of dark lightning flashed downward. With a massive thud, Baru landed in a crater of his own making, the ground shattering beneath him. His wings curled behind his back as he bowed deeply before Jin-Woo, voice crackling with pride as he addressed his sovereign. Jin-Woo gave him a nod, commending his soldiers for their performance. Then, turning toward Jinho, he instructed him to fall back and protect Hanakawa. Without question, Jinho obeyed as he led her away to a safer vantage point. Once Jinho was safely out of harm's way, Jin-Woo turned his attention to the battlefield. He summoned the towering forms of the shadow giants, his newly acquired weapons of war. They stepped into formation at the front, their massive bodies forming a wall of unstoppable strength. Standing atop a cliff overlooking the field, Jin-Woo's gaze burned with resolve. His army, a blend of loyal summons and fallen enemies, stood ready below. Raising his hand, he pointed ahead, and with a single word unleashed them. Baru flung his head back and let out a thunderous screech that tore through the city's ruins like a war cry. The shadow army roared in response, charging forward as one. The earth trembled beneath their charge. Like a black tide, they surged across the wasteland and into the domain of the final guardian. Dust whipped into the air, buildings trembled in their foundations, and the oppressive atmosphere grew heavier with each step closer to the gate's protector. But as they breached the heart of the city, everything shifted. There it stood. The final giant unmoved by the spectacle before it. Surrounded by a sea of shadows, the creature remained eerily calm. It didn't flinch, it didn't even adjust its stance. Then, in a blink, it vanished. The giant reappeared mid-air like a phantom, its sword already in motion. And then, destruction. With one swing, half of Jin-Woo's front line was obliterated. Shadows burst into smoke as the enormous blade tore through them like paper, cleaving the battlefield apart. Without pause, the giant landed, its sword raised again, cutting a direct path through Jin-Woo's ranks. The shockwave alone flattened nearby buildings. Jin-Woo narrowed his eyes. He wasn't shaken easily, but even he had to admit the giant was on another level. Its swordplay was precise, fast, and devastating. Its aura pulsed like a living storm. Magic power so dense it warped the air around it. He wondered how a being so monstrous could even exist. The sheer presence of it gnawed at his mind. But Jin-Woo understood there were only two choices, turn away or destroy it. And he had never been one to turn away. Tusk, now towering in his full battle form, stepped forward and faced the monstrosity. Wasting no time, he drew in a deep breath and unleashed a massive pillar of flame. The searing blast would have incinerated any ordinary magic beast. But the giant wasn't like the others. With a calm motion, it raised its massive palm, blocking the fire effortlessly, untouched and unmoved. A shadow giant leaped in from the side, but the titan pivoted effortlessly and bisected it with a single brutal sweep of its sword. Smoke filled the air as more shadows were crushed beneath its heel. Ant soldiers scrambled to overwhelm it, but they were trampled like insects. Baru, enraged by the giant's rampage, prepared to charge, but Jin-Woo raised a hand, stopping him. It wasn't time yet. Baru stepped back reluctantly, taking position beside, both poised for battle, yet holding back, waiting for the signal. Their eagerness was clear, but Jin-Woo had a plan. He had anticipated this challenge. The giant's strength and defense were overwhelming, but Jin-Woo wasn't without strategy. He had more than enough mana, but knew he had to be patient. His army was immortal and perfect for probing the enemy's weakness. The giant continued its assault, crushing shadow soldiers beneath its feet, slamming its fists into the ground with terrifying force. Yet even as they fell, the shadows rose again, relentless. Jin-Woo observed from a distance, eyes narrowed, mana draining steadily with each resurrection. Then something caught his eye. The giant's body was cloaked in powerful magic, a constant barrier that gave it confidence, even arrogance. It didn't defend, not until one moment. Just once, it raised its arm to block an incoming attack. That told Jin-Woo everything he needed. Without wasting a second, he summoned his flying mount, Kaisel. With a single powerful flap, Kaisel rose into the air. Jin-Woo leaped onto his back, calling out to Baru and Igris. Baru unfurled his wings while Igris silently climbed aboard behind Jin-Woo. With both Baru and Igris on board, Kaisel let out a piercing cry and launched into the sky. His wings flapped powerfully, slicing through the air as they ascended, soaring straight toward the giant's head. Though surrounded by 1,000 shadow soldiers, the giant's sharp eyes caught sight of the approaching threat. Its gaze shifted, locking onto Kaisel with immediate awareness. Igris was the first to strike. His demon monarch sword flashed violet, sending a streak of lightning toward the giant's forehead. But the massive creature reacted swiftly, tilting its head just enough to evade. Igris didn't falter. He followed with another powerful swing, faster and more precise. But the giant dodged again, moving with unreal speed for its size. From Kaisel's back, Jin-Woo observed every movement, analyzing the giant's reactions. Igris kept up the pressure, unleashing strike after strike, forcing the creature on the defensive. Finally, the giant swung its enormous sword upward, aiming to swat them out of the sky. But in perfect sync, Jin-Woo and Igris leaped from Kaisel's back just before impact, narrowly avoiding the blade. Jin-Woo's eyes sharpened. He had seen what he needed. He'd found the weak spot. Igris launched another burst of lightning from above, blinding and loud. The crackling energy struck the giant's upper face, disorienting it just long enough. Jin-Woo surged forward like a bolt, his dagger drawn. With one swift, vicious motion, he carved across the giant's eye. A guttural roar shook the battlefield as the beast recoiled in pain. Then came Baru, diving in with claws bared. He slammed into the giant, tearing deep into its flesh and forcing its defenses to crumble. The onslaught didn't let up. Jin-Woo, now locked in, activated Ruler's authority and rocketed toward the giant's face. Below, Hanekawa watched in awe. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was war between monsters. Lightning from Igris continued to rain down, staggering the giant. Jin-Woo seized the moment. He summoned more daggers and activated mutilation. With a flash of fury, he tore into the giant's torso. One dagger sliced its eye further. Fluid erupted, spraying across the air, while the others ripped into muscle and bone. The giant thrashed wildly, but Jin-Woo clung on and called for Baru. In an instant, Baru joined him, flying straight into the exposed wound. Together they assaulted the creature's face. Jin-Woo tearing through tissue while Baru shredded flesh with his claws. Blood sprayed, bone cracked. The giant let out one final scream, then collapsed. Its towering form crashed to the ground with a thunderous boom. Right after, a system notification flashed before Jin-Woo. The enemy had been defeated. A series of notifications followed, and with them came the familiar message. He had leveled up. Jin-Woo noted it calmly, aware that the enemy had been defeated. Jin-Ho, breathless and brimming with excitement, rushed over, calling out to Jin-Woo with his usual enthusiasm, clearly in awe of how decisively the giant boss had been taken down. But Jin-Woo remained composed. Something felt off. The system hadn't acknowledged the dungeon's completion, and there was no confirmation of the dungeon boss being defeated. He immediately sensed that the raid wasn't over. Attempting shadow extraction on the fallen giant yielded no result, and that was when he realized something was wrong. While he was contemplating these unexpected developments, a sudden surge of mana erupted from the S-rank gate. Jin-Woo's eyes widened in shock as they landed on the giant's corpse. The massive creature had released an overwhelming amount of magic energy upon death, creating a blast that wiped out everything nearby. Jin-Woo's senses sharpened as he recognized the chaotic surge of energy. It was a magic storm. His first instinct was to check on Jin-Ho. He spun around, tense but relaxed when he saw Jin-Ho safely protected in Igris' arms, unharmed by the blast. All the mana that had once resided within the giant's body had now been absorbed into the nearby gate, as if the gate itself had devoured it. Amidst the strange phenomenon, Jin-Woo felt a sharp sting on his cheek, only then realizing he had been cut. An unfamiliar experience, as no ordinary magic had ever left a mark on him before. Determined to uncover the truth, Jin-Woo instructed Jin-Ho to stay behind and without hesitation turned toward the ominous gate. What do you think is waiting beyond that gate? Drop your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you're as hyped as I am. Subscribe for more solo leveling breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep leveling up.